Have you ever felt like your theory courses just aren't giving you the edge you need in understanding music? Do you feel left in the dark when it comes to composing music? If the answer is yes, I might be able to help. Over the years, I've developed a different perspective about composing, which has been incredibly liberating. And if you want to level up your compositional understanding, then book one of my one-on-one Zoom composition lessons. The link to do so is in the description below, and better yet, the first lesson is free of charge. Now let's get on with the video. Most of us are familiar with the 5 piano concertos of Beethoven. They represent some of the most important works of the concerto repertoire for the piano. However, many of you might be surprised to hear that there are other Beethoven piano concertos. And no, I'm not referring to his choral fantasy, which is sort of a quasi-piano concerto with the fantastic addition of a choir, or his triple concerto, which I'd describe as a concerto for piano trio. No, besides these two, there are actually works by Beethoven that are solely written or arranged as piano concertos that are hardly ever performed. The first I'd like to discuss is his Piano Concerto No. 0 in E-flat major. Yes, you heard that correctly, they give this piece the title of No. 0. Because in a sense it's his first piano concerto, but it was never published as such, and Beethoven never felt the need to share it with anyone during his lifetime. It would only be discovered amongst his possessions after his death, and remained unpublished until 1901. Beethoven wrote this piece at the age of 14, which is quite astonishing when one listens to it. However, only the piano reduction remains, so performances with orchestra have to be arranged by other composers. Beethoven left enough cues in his piano reduction to enable convincing reconstructions, and this in turn enables us to get a glimpse into the young mind of Beethoven. For the most part, it's a very typical concerto for the classical period. However, in the third movement, there is a moment where I think a little bit of the Beethoven we are all now acquainted with begins to materialize. It's definitely worth a listen, so I'll link a recording in the description so you can listen to it in its entirety. The next Beethoven piano concerto didn't start out as a piano concerto at all, but rather is an arrangement of his Violin concerto for piano. However, this arrangement was done by Beethoven himself. After attending the premiere of Beethoven's Violin Concerto in 1806, the composer Muzio Clementi approached Beethoven and suggested he arrange the work for piano. In 1807, Clementi's wish was fulfilled and Beethoven completed this arrangement. The reason I'm including this as a piano concerto is that although it's an arrangement, it still has aspects that are solely conceived for the purpose of being performed on the piano, including an immense cadenza in the first movement that is completely original to the piano transcription. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of this cadenza is that the piano plays together with the timpani for a portion of it, which creates a very unique musical texture. Violinists have even taken such a liking to this cadenza that they have arranged the piano cadenza for the violin when they perform the concerto on the violin. While I do feel Beethoven's Violin Concerto is superior on the violin, this is still a very interesting piece to listen to, and even a good piece to study as a composer, as it shows how to effectively rearrange a piece for a different instrument. The last piano concerto is his 6th piano concerto in D major. This piece is unfortunately unfinished as Beethoven abandoned the piece in 1815 after writing out 256 measures of it. He did, however, write 70 pages of sketches and spent a great deal of time on the project. Now I must say, of all the concertos I have so far presented in this video, this is probably the least pleasing musically. When listening to the music Beethoven wrote, the piece seems confused, disjointed, and almost a huge leap backwards for Beethoven considering the monumental beauty of his Fifth Piano Concerto he wrote a few years prior. However, as unsatisfactory as this piece is, it's still fascinating to me, as it displays that even great composers like Beethoven can fail on occasion. Sometimes ideas just don't work out, and I think Beethoven made a very wise decision in abandoning this piece. At times the melodies seem as if he were trying to imitate Rossini, who, to Beethoven's great displeasure, was stealing Beethoven's limelight during that time in Vienna. Perhaps at that moment in time, he felt that writing simple melodies and cheerful key signatures might help his career. However, this is ultimately just hearsay. But that's for me the value of listening to this piece. It's a rare demonstration of an almost insecure and indecisive Beethoven. Another interesting thing is that although Beethoven left 256 measures of an orchestration of this piece, I think it still demonstrates a rough sketch or layout in that Beethoven didn't fill in the gaps yet, so the orchestration sounds comparatively thinner compared to other works by Beethoven. However, I still don't think that if Beethoven really filled in the gaps and fully fleshed out the work, that it would have been on par with his other piano concertos, which is ultimately why he probably abandoned it. I hope by presenting these few pieces you've learned just a little bit more about Beethoven, and I look forward to presenting more lesser-known works from other composers in the future.